Good evening, and thank you all for being with us. I'm Leah McLean.
And I'm Lindsay Brown. We begin with that ongoing breaking news tonight. 37-year-old Alex Pretti, a resident in Minneapolis, a U.S. citizen, also a registered nurse, shot and killed by a Border Patrol agent near 26th and Nicollet this morning.
And today, protests and vigils have been held all throughout the Twin Cities metro. This is video just in our newsroom. It's a vigil near Minnehaha and Morris Park honoring Alex Pretti. And new video from the VA we're seeing here. This is where Pretti worked. This is video from December of 2024. And what you're seeing here is Pretti reading a final salute to a fallen veteran who was one of his ICU patients. The person who shared this video, Mac Randolph, said, quote, "Today we remember that freedom is not free. We have to work at it, nurture it, protect it, and even sacrifice for it."
And tonight, we're hearing from Alex's family for the first time. In a statement shared by Minnesota DFLers, his family says, quote, "We are heartbroken, but also very angry." They continued saying Alex wanted to make a difference in this world. Unfortunately, he will not be able to see his impact, end quote.
Pretti was shot around 9 o'clock this morning in a busy area of Minneapolis, and multiple people were there taking video of the event.
And a lot of people have seen this video. You may have, but again, we want to warn you, the video is very graphic.
The people! What is wrong with you? Honestly!
This is one view of the video of the shooting that we see today. Tonight, federal and state officials, though, are disagreeing on exactly what happened.
Both sides blaming the other as tensions continue to rise.
This individual showed up to a law enforcement operation with a weapon and dozens of rounds of ammunition. He wasn't there to peacefully protest. He was there to perpetuate violence.
I'm done being told that our community members are responsible for the vitriol in our streets. I'm done being told that our local elected officials are solely responsible for turning down the temperature. How many times must local and national leaders must plead with you, Donald Trump, to end this operation and recognize that this is not creating safety in our city?
And right now, we have team coverage with responses from city, state, and federal leaders, plus Pretti's neighbors speaking out for the first time as we try to break down frame by frame that video that we've been seeing. But first, let's go to the ongoing protest in South Minneapolis. Investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen was there when agents released chemical irritants.
Right now, Ryan Raish is joining us live. Ryan's on the other side of the protest, is near 26th and Nicollet Avenue. And it's late. It's after 10:40, Ryan. Tell us what you're seeing out there at this hour.
Yes, we're just a few blocks, 3 or 4 blocks from where Alex Pretti was shot and killed early this morning, and we now have members of the Minnesota National Guard patrolling at least parts of the city. You can see this Humvee right over there. There's 2 members of the National Guard in that Humvee, and there's another one right here. 2 more members of the National Guard. They're wearing that green reflective vest, so you know who they belong to. And then they're sitting here in this intersection right next to an officer with the Minneapolis Police Department. This is the vehicle exclusion zone, and this scene repeats itself in a perimeter all around this scene. I want to show you this map right now. This is the vehicle exclusion zone. I counted about 45 blocks throughout the city. The whole point here is to limit the amount of traffic that can come in. And I was talking to the member of the National Guard. He was telling me that, you know, if you have business here, if you live here, they're going to let you through, but they're really trying to limit as many people as they can to coming into this zone. And it's something we learned 5 or 6 years ago with George Floyd. The Minnesota National Guard needs a specific mission, and today that mission came from Minneapolis and Hennepin County out here. That mission is to keep people out of this zone, and so far from our vantage point, it has been a peaceful evening. Live in South Minneapolis, Ryan Raish, 5 Eyewitness News.
All right, Ryan, we want to go now to the other side of this area. Eric Rasmussen has been there all day, all night now, and it's late, even after officials were out there spraying chemical irritants.
And Eric, what are you seeing and hearing right now where you are? We see people still behind you at this hour.
Right. I can tell you the number of people has thinned out quite a bit since we joined you over on Channel 45 about an hour ago. But as you say, there are still people here. The bonfires are still burning. The very large makeshift barricade here on Nicollet is still there. That's made up of wooden pallets and garbage cans and dumpsters that they put out here hours ago. Just past that barrier behind me is the scene of that deadly shooting involving federal agents earlier today, but no sign of federal authorities at all here for many, many hours now. However, when we first arrived here on scene, not long after the shooting today, it was a very different situation where we saw a line of federal officers, actually from the Federal Bureau of Prisons, according to the uniforms, and a line of protesters. And that's when those federal officers started firing off the tear gas and the projectiles. We were right up front, got a face full of it, and we're running along with dozens and dozens of people out here today. So we want to show you what that looked and sounded like.
They just started releasing some tear gas. They're moving us back off the 27th.
You heard me coughing there, and then I certainly wasn't the only one in that situation. Photographer Joe Caffrey and I were able to get to safety, but we're showing you this because it's just a snapshot of the tension that had been rising since the deadly shooting this morning. Now, after the federal agents left the area, demonstrators continue to flood this block all day long. We were able to make our way back to the exact spot where Alex Pretti was shot by federal agents. We found a growing memorial there, and it was surreal. Unlike loud protests just a short distance away, most of the people there were standing, even kneeling, mostly in silence. I did get a chance, though, to speak to a couple of them who agreed to talk to me about this terrible moment that we're all collectively experiencing here in Minneapolis.
I think it's really important for us just to stay silent right now and just reflect on what's happening in our city and just remembering all the people who have been affected by this, and Renee Good's family, Alex's family right now, and just taking a moment of silence just for them.
I think everyone needs to see it for what it is, and everyone needs to watch it and just know that this is un-American. This is not what we stand for. This is not what the city stands for.
And back out here live as we approach 11 p.m. on this just incredibly difficult day. Still people standing out here. You see a car go past me, but they're not going much farther than that because they've got the street blocked off. We've talked to as many demonstrators and bystanders as we could today, including the two you just heard from. Both of those people say Minneapolis is their home. The young woman I spoke to lives right down this block, and we're hearing that from a lot of the people here, that they didn't have far to go, but they felt like it was important to be here, especially today. Live in Minneapolis, Eric Rasmussen, 5 Eyewitness News.
All right, and thank you, Eric, for being there on this difficult day after many difficult weeks. This is the third shooting involving a federal agent since Operation Metro Surge began in the Twin Cities. On January 7th, an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent shot and killed 37-year-old Renee Good. It happened on Portland Avenue near 34th Street in Minneapolis. Homeland Security says the agent, identified as Jonathan Ross, was acting in self-defense, claiming Good was trying to ram Ross with her vehicle. The FBI is investigating. Then on January 14th, local and federal authorities said a man being pursued by federal immigration agents was shot in the leg after an altercation took place. Homeland Security says the man shot and another man were attacking the agent when he feared for his life and fired his gun. Again, the FBI is investigating.
And Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem addressed the situation in a news conference that was live streamed from Washington, D.C. today. Secretary Noem defending the agent's actions.
Individuals showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and assaulted our officers. They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him.
And we're being told now that the Department of Homeland Security is handling the investigation into the shooting. That does concern some Minnesotans, as multiple federal prosecutors have resigned in protest to the way that these cases are being handled.
And we can tell you tonight, Hennepin County Attorney's Office and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension are suing the federal government, seeking to prevent the destruction of evidence related to today's fatal shooting.
The head of the BCA and Governor Walz speaking today about the investigation. Our Brittany Ehrman shares what they said.
Well, Leah and Lindsay, we saw at least 6 different Minnesota National Guard trucks on site to secure the Whipple Federal Building, but they left in the last half hour or so. Now, we heard from a lot of different state leaders today who talked about what happened, and the message across the board is clear. They want a state-led investigation into the shooting, but there are some challenges. The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension telling us today they went to that scene to try and investigate, but they were blocked by the Department of Homeland Security. They tell us they went back for a second time with a search warrant signed by a judge, but they were denied access again. How will you be able to ensure a thorough and fair investigation if they weren't able to collect evidence the day that the shooting happened?
It's complicated. You know, that's why the long history of jointly working investigations when the federal entities conduct their own investigation is really important. And we have a long established process of doing that.
The BCA Superintendent Drew Evans said it's typical for the BCA to investigate use of force cases working alongside federal agencies. Officials say a state-level investigation is still moving forward, even though they were blocked from gathering evidence. Governor Tim Walz also weighed in on the shooting, calling the video, quote, sickening. Once again, he is calling on President Trump to remove ICE from Minnesota and is pushing for the state to lead this investigation.
Minnesota's justice system will have the last word on this. It must have the last word. As I told the White House in no uncertain terms this morning, the federal government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period.
And state public safety leaders are saying they're doing everything they can to get answers and restore a sense of normalcy in the state. And of course, them telling protesters to remain peaceful as they exercise their First Amendment right. Live in Minneapolis, Brittany Ehrman, 5 Eyewitness News.
And new tonight, we are now learning that 2 more witnesses who were there on the scene today, they are now joining the ACLU's lawsuit.
The lawsuit claims federal agents are violating civilians' civil rights. Both witnesses say they didn't see Pretti in possession of a gun. You can read their account at KSTP.com. And tonight, federal agents claiming self-defense in this fatal shooting, but key questions remain unanswered.
City and state leaders gave a news conference today demanding ICE operations end in the Twin Cities and encouraging the protesters to remain peaceful.
Renee Cooper has more on these competing narratives.
Eyewitness video shows once again reckless, violent, and dangerous federal agents taking the life of a Minnesotan.
Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots.
Asked about the federal narrative of events, Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says he's also in the dark.
Minneapolis Police, as well as our supervisors, our watch commander, responded to the scene. We were not provided any public safety statement around the incident, what happened.
U.S. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino sharing a single photo of a gun said to be connected to 37-year-old Alex Pretti, using it to allege violent intentions.
The suspect also had 2 loaded magazines and no accessible ID.
Chief O'Hara did not characterize the intentions of anyone involved. He did make a point to share this about Pretti's background.
The only interaction that we are aware of with law enforcement has been for traffic tickets, and we believe he is a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry.
Bovino did not answer questions of when agents realized Pretti had a gun and if he brandished it, or why the photo he's citing in defense of the shooting seems to show the gun inside a car when the scene on video unfolded outside. I tried again to get that answer as Bovino walked out.
This is under investigation. Those facts will come to light, but let's take a look at the gun. You can see the gun here on the screen there that individual possessed. It appears to be a semi-automatic, high-capacity type, possibly a Sig Sauer 9mm.
All right, no more questions. Sorry, no more questions, sir.
Commander. Hold on. Where exactly was the gun at the time of the shooting? You have it pictured in a car.
Now, elected officials in Minnesota also calling for a full and transparent investigation, something they question after state law enforcement was shut out and numerous senior federal prosecutors resigned in the wake of Renee Good's shooting death. Live in the newsroom tonight, Renee Cooper, 5 Eyewitness News.
All right, Renee, with more questions still, and we've been working throughout the afternoon, throughout the evening now, breaking down some of those witness videos of this deadly shooting in Minneapolis.
We have several angles here. Callan Gray has a deeper look at these videos, breaking them down frame by frame.
4 videos showing the ICE killing of 37-year-old Alex Pretti. In the minute leading up to the shooting, he appears to have a cell phone out recording as cars go by, whistles blaring, and shouting heard. As it continues, you can see the man has his arm around someone. Then an agent pushes someone else and he moves between them, then appears to be pepper sprayed in the face. Agents grab him and pull him to the ground. Another angle showing the struggle. The man hit several times. From this angle, it's clear an agent in a gray coat kicks something before reaching into the scuffle. 8 seconds later, coming up with what appears to be a weapon in his hand. A second before shots begin. This agent with a backpack appearing to be the one firing. 10 gunshots heard.
We don't hear the first shots fired until after that agent in the gray jacket has the firearm in his hands and is clearly, disengaged from the encounter.
Defense attorney Rob Dorr, who is also the president of the Gun Owners Law Center, telling us this weapon appears to match the gun Homeland Security says the 37-year-old had.
Ultimately, in order for officers to use deadly force, they have to have been in reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily harm. And that's the threshold that has to be met. And at least what it appears to me, and I'm happy to be convinced otherwise, that at the time that the shots were fired, he had been disarmed seconds before.
Both Dorr and law enforcement expert Mylan Masson tell us it's unclear whether Pretti is resisting or curling up to protect himself.
What questions do you still have that you want resolved before you come to a conclusion on this?
I want to know what was said. I want to know what the victim said. What did the officers say? What made the officers feel that they were threatened?
So far, Homeland Security has not released any footage of the shooting, either from agent recordings or body cameras. We also don't know if any or all agents had body cameras today, Leah.
Callan Gray reporting. Thank you, Callan. We will continue to track this major, ongoing, developing situation. Our team's, in fact, on it overnight. We'll bring you the latest tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m. here on 5 Eyewitness News. You can find all of our coverage with our KSTP app, on the KSTP YouTube channel, and at KSTP.com as well. And our coverage of this breaking news will continue even right here tonight. It is a very cold night for those few protesters who are still out.
Dangerously cold. Temperatures in the Twin Cities never got above 0 today, and now they're dropping again, sitting at -6 right now. Meteorologist Matt Surrey is tracking a slight warm up for us. We'll let you know about it when his full forecast comes up next.